And I see Ruth is saying he's backstage.
Great. So we got all our people here. It took us a second, but we got folks backstage and we got folks on stage. And so for folks who are joining us, who've tuned in a little early and we're a little late, thank you for being here. My name is Carroll Fife. I'm the council member for Oakland's District 3. And today we're going to talk about something that is dear to my heart. And I'm so excited to have dynamos in their fields, in their respective fields, on with us today to talk about Black arts and culture and legacy in the city of Oakland. So I'm not going to do any talking. I'm going to just listen to these giants right now. We have Chuck Johnson from Soul Beat. He's going to talk to us about Soul Beat Day and just the legacy of Black television in the city of Oakland. We're going to hear from the dynamo, amazing Ayodele Nzingha, our poet laureate for the city of Oakland. And we're going to hear from Kat Brooks, who is just a dynamo in every field, activism, acting, poetry, I mean, all of the things. And they're all here with us today. So without further ado, I just want to jump right into the conversation. And I want to hear from all of you all to tell a little bit about what you do for the city, as well as why is Black arts and culture important to the city of Oakland. And I'm going to start, if you all don't mind, with Ayodele Nzingha.
Hi, guys. I'm glad to be here. I'm Ayodele Nzingha, and I wear a lot of hats. I like to say that I'm a cultural architect. I design structures in which culture making can happen. Today, I'm going to wear my BAM CDC hat, and that's the hat that I use to help animate the Black Arts Movement Business District. And culture to me is a sign and symbols of people having figured out how to live together. So culture and culture is important because we are constantly trying to figure out how to live together. And Black arts and culture in Oakland, California in particular, has led the world in teaching it how to struggle, how to stand up for itself, how to be seen, how to be visible, how to be a force in and of itself, wherein you know that Black is beautiful and that it has things to share about knowing how to be human. That's a legacy in Oakland as one of the hotspots for the Black arts movement and it being Panther country. So struggle and culture go together. And it's Oakland's story.
I had to give an ashe to that. Thank you, Sister Ayodele. I'm gonna go to Chuck. Chuck, how do you define culture and why is that important for the city of Oakland in terms of Black arts and Black culture? Chuck, I think you're muted. Can we get some tech support for Chuck? Chuck, while you figure that out, let's go ahead and go to Kat. I'm gonna try to figure out what's going on here.
Okay.
Okay. There we go. Yes,
okay.
Sir.
Okay, excuse me. So again, culture is vital for us, especially in these days and times that, hey, let's face it, we down to 23% in this city. And so one of the most vital things for the city to remember us is through our culture. I've had the experience even with Miss Ayodele. We were thinking about this a few years ago in terms of the cultural arts and district. And again, it's just been an important part of our city, and it's going to be vital for our future.
Thank you for sharing that. Miss Brooks.
If you don't call me Kat, hey Oakland, how you doing? So a lot of people, I mean, folks who know me, know that most of my work, know that a lot of my work is around being an organizer, right? An activist, specifically around working with communities and families that are impacted by state violence. I'm the co-founder of the Anti-Police Terror Project. But I'm also an actress, a playwright, a director. I'm a resident actress and playwright with Lower Bottom Players, which is the oldest Black theater company in Oakland, founded and run by Dr. Nzingha. A resident playwright and actress with Three Girls Theater based out of San Francisco. culture is our glue, right? Culture is what holds us together. Culture is also how we fight. Culture is how we resist. Culture keeps our stories, right? Part of we're not still here, and we haven't survived because our oppressor, because white supremacy has allowed it, right? We've survived through our culture and the holding on of our traditions and the telling of our stories. And that's really important right now as there is active strategies to erase us, right? There are active strategies to pretend like we weren't here, that this didn't used to be Chocolate City. There are active strategies to prevent us from having generation after generation of Black Oaklanders. And culture is one of the ways that we're going to hold on to Oakland and hold on to our stories and hold on to our legacy.
That from all of you all, it's very well said. So I guess I want to get right into it since we got started a little late. Ayodele, can you tell us about the BAM Fest and what that is, what it means, when it's happening, and how people can participate and get involved and support in all of the things for BAM Fest?
BAM Fest is the most elegant ever act of artful resistance. It is grassroots, stunting like your daddy. 31 days of arts and culture, 31 days. Theater, literature, visual installations, music, dance, workshops, civic education, community conversations. This year, we're fortunate we are going to be partners in bringing Digital Underground Day to the city. It's a day when we're going to trespass. We're bringing 3 Black poet laureates to the Oakland Museum of California. We are out there doing some distance in-person events, a lot of virtual stuff, and it's truly an international program. We'll be talking to Black people around the world. We'll be talking to artists around the world. BAMFest starts at midnight, August 31st, with the call, with the ritual, calling the ancestors and blessing this huge effort where we put on had about 70 artists and bring arts and culture to the town. And we're really proud because this is our 3rd year in, and we have done it at this particular point in time with actually no resource from the cities. It's all been grassroots hustle. Now, that's getting ready to change because of a huge shift in Oakland culture. Like Oakland woke up and remembered who it was, woke up and read its own story and said, okay, yeah. But that's what BAM Fest is, 31 days of love. And this year, that's actually the thing, from Oakland to the world, with love.
Can you give us those dates again, Sister Ayo?
August 1st through August 31st. Every single day. The calendar's up at www.bamfest.com. And you'll see there's a lot of marketing going around. The very best way to get the most accurate information is to check that website on a daily basis to find out how to get interest to the activities that you want. 90% of these things are absolutely free. And there are a couple of ways for you to come out and support our efforts, a couple of fundraisers. There's an online fundraiser. So support the culture, y'all. That's how you fight back. Support the culture, y'all. Bam!
Support the culture. Bam! With that, Chuck, how do we support the culture of Soul Beat? What's coming up for Soul Beat Day? Like what?
First of all, it's just a very incredible experience this last 6 months of how much the community's really supported this concept. Soul Beat is definitely a pillar here in the city of Oakland since 1978, and many people have been wondering like where it went, what happened to it, and everything. So me being a student, so to speak, of Chuck Johnson, I was like, man, if somebody gonna do it, somebody got to do it now. And so I just took the mantle, and decided to bring all of the, family members. I call them family members. Everybody that I grew up with, so to speak, at Soul Beat together. and let's just first start off with preserving the day, because in 1993, Mayor Elihu Harris actually produced a proclamation for Soul Beat. And it was just through my research, actually developing a documentary on Soul Beat, that I had found out this information like literally a month and a half ago. And so I had a month, I had literally 2 days, I should say, to decide, hey, we're going to just let this day go by, or is we going to, kickstart it, get the energy back in the culture, So, because of course, I believe 2022 is going to be much bigger. But in the meantime, for this year, we're doing Soul Beat Day tomorrow at the Busy Wife, located in Jack Lantern Square. It's at 44 Webster Street tomorrow at 6 o'clock. And again, shout out to people like yourself, Councilmember Fife, for your tremendous support and the effort to making this thing happen. And like I said, it's just the beginning. You can go to soulbeatnetwork.com to find out more information, or you can also follow us at Soulbeat TV.
So now, Chuck, I'm concerned because I know you've been really hustling to get the word out there. I know you're carrying a lot on your shoulders independently to make sure that we retain the culture and the legacy of Soul Beat and what that meant. And what it meant, for me looking back, is just like to see so many Black businesses and entities be able to advertise and talk about like what was happening in our own communities was so important. And we're losing that. The network, you're trying to revive that right now, but we also need that same resurgence in Black economics, Black arts, Black business, Black everything. How do you suggest, and this is open to everybody, that we pay attention to what's happening in the city right now, where you just said we're down to 23%? What should we do together to make sure that we don't continue to lose our numbers?
To me, it goes back to the heritage of Oakland, because in some ways, Oakland was like one big family. You know what I mean? If you're doing something around the corner, the neighbor could kind of chastise you and give a call to the family around the corner. You about to get round too. So I think that was what we missed in our city. That OG, of respect, the knucklehead youngsters that walk across the street and maybe think twice about how they about to make decisions. Like, we lost that whole connection of community and family, of course, because of the flight, And I basically just thought that this project was a unique opportunity to have a conversation about that component exactly. Because if you look back at the commercials that we're going to show you, if you look back at some of the content that we're going to show you, you're going to realize that it was that family net component that is actually missing. And I believe that, a lot of these young dudes who, out here bipping and, doing all the things that they're doing is because, again, they don't have nobody that's there to, kind of check them at the door, And so I believe that we're not going to be here to, I guess, point the finger like just elders saying, hey, y'all better do what we tell you to do. We want to just have a conversation with you guys for you to realize that, you got some roots out here that you come from. You're not disconnected, right? They feel like they disconnected. They feel like they just doing their own thing. But, you got uncles and aunties that's really, impressioned by your decisions in these days and times. So I just believe that, like I said, first starting off with the story of this project, and then the last piece, showing them the bridge of how they can be a part of continuing the legacy themselves. Because you know how they do. They'll give us 5 minutes to listen to our old song, and then they're going to be like, hey, how can we bring our new song to you? And so that's exactly what we want to give them, that impression that, they don't have to be distant. And first of all, we didn't went through a lot of things that y'all been through. We probably the first generation of, I guess you can say, the hip hop culture that's grandparents now. You know what I'm saying? That we really know the kind of music that you guys like. We might have had a balance back in the day, and maybe you guys need to learn about balance. We had the party music, and we had the Public Enemies. We had Paris. And so it's just different ways that I think we should present our culture from where we started to this younger generation.
Well, since you've been all over talking about Soul Beat, I'm seeing the videos popping up with people telling their memories of Soul Beat and their connection. What is the capacity of this event tomorrow? Because you might end up having an overflow. So will you be able to handle everybody that's coming to the Busy Wife tomorrow?
to me, it'd be a beautiful experience to have a multitude of people there, and it'd be also a cool opportunity for a certain amount come and get the message that we, just starting with. To be honest, an array of people, absolutely, like you said, has said they was going to be coming out. We know it's going to be a certain capacity at it, like 100, 150-ish is a certain mark, and then we got an area that's like an outdoor patio area, and then it's even an opportunity to extend it outside of there. They have like a little courtyard where we'll have the music playing, and people will have a chance to, take pictures and do interviews outside. So, we hope to have a good turnout. And like I said, it's going to be dope one way or the other, because like I said, it's just the beginning. Like, we literally just getting started. And I really appreciate, from, council members to the mayor's office to people in the Hollywood industry, community activists, you name it. They all been reaching out. What I would like to hear is maybe from Kat and Miss Ayodele, what do you guys remember about Soul Beat?
Go ahead, Ayodele.
I remember having a show on Soul Beat.
Come on with it.
To the Eastmont Mall.
Yeah.
And, go back in that little cul-de-sac, little corner of the corner, all them little tires.
Wow. Right.
And, I hosted a once a week spoken word show on Soul Beat. So that was the spot. If you was doing it in the town and you had any stripes, then you was on Soul Beat.
Yeah. So you just got to preserve that. I don't know if you had any words, Miss Kat.
I actually, if you don't mind, because I know our time is limited and we actually have rehearsal starting soon. Okay. I want to say a little bit about staying here, right? About that Councilmember Fife had asked in her previous question. And I just want to say, most of us ain't leaving. Most Black people aren't leaving because they want to, right? When I talk to the Black folks that is in Tracy, that are in Sacramento, they're sad that they had to leave their home. They were pushed out, right? And so this is where I think critical conversations happen, and they can happen through culture, right? We saw something really beautiful happen with this last budget fight, where artists join hands with organizers. I happen to stand in the middle of both of those things. I call myself an artivist. That's the new trend term, I guess, for using your art for social justice. But continuing to build that movement, right? Refusing to leave, taking space, doing things like Mom's House, getting the strongest winter protections in the state until we can get rid of Costa-Hawkins, doing civil disobedience, telling our stories, checking gentrifiers when they get out of pocket, fighting, right, for Oakland. And I'm really hopeful about the conversations that are being had about right turn, right? So as we protect Oaklanders from being pushed out, what are we doing to bring Oaklanders home, right? They should have first rights to low, to affordable housing, right? They should be able to come home. I'm not a native Oaklander, right? People know that. And I'm watching my neighbors, generations of my neighbors, be pushed out. I'm watching Black people no longer be able to afford their homes. I live across the street from my housing project, and my street is still getting whitened up, right? And so I want us to get better about artists being partners, right, in the fight to keep Oakland Black.
I did a IG Live today. It's part of the YBCA 10. And we talked about the fact that art is the bridge. Art allows you to stand in your culture, the foundation of things like Soul Beat, and on back to all the shoulders we stand on, the Black Arts Movement, the Black Power Movement. But it allows you right this second, right now, to show up, to trespass, to disrupt, to do what you need to do, to fight, not to become a refugee, to design what the future looks like for yourself, So BAMFest really is an act of resistance. It is us giving opportunity to as many artists and cultural makers as we possibly can, because that's what we need. We need opportunity. We need to be able to put in work here. We need to be able to be recognized as direct servants of community, as the experts, those who actually hold the answers, rather than continuing in outside people coming in prescribing, giving us the solution that never quite sets us free. We need to imagine where we're trying to go We can't get there with the tools we have. We can't get there with the habits and minds we have. You need artists. We imagine things as they have never been. And frankly, because we're super invested in what can happen, I guess the only thing we don't imagine is that we can't win. So you need us. We're your frontline warriors, your magical ninjas, invested in imagining what needs to be and stubborn enough to dream it so.
You better say that. You better say that. And I gotta tell, it's just powerful. And it's been through me aging into being an organizer and an activist, that in my youth was a little more militant, has come to understand the importance of art and culture in ways that I didn't when I was younger. Even though I consider myself an artist. People don't know, but I sculpt, I paint, I draw, I sketch, I do a bunch of different things. I sing, I do poetry, a bunch of stuff that people don't know. But now y'all know. But when I came to Oakland, I was on some other business. We didn't talk to, I'm not even going to get into how deep it was. But if I know, yeah, the cat knows, but like, I remember my brothers and my husband actually doing security for the beautiful soul, our brother Khalid Muhammad at Soulbeat. Oh my goodness. And just a moment of silence for the beauty and strength and power of brother Khalid Muhammad and who he meant to us and who he was. So just a moment. But on the memory of Khalid and who he was, and just even being at Soulbeat and having a disagreement or being on a different page with Chauncey Bailey because he was on the Chauncey Bailey show. But afterwards, them understanding that even though they were on different sides, we're all still a part of a family. And I think it's important what you said, Chuck, because there was embrace, there was love afterwards, because even though that we, have different paths, have different objectives, different strategies, different tactics, we are all here on borrowed time fighting white supremacy for our right to exist. And so one of the ways that we do that is through arts and culture. And because we were like, we had the trucks, we had like, we were into some like real, how do we build our own community business? Then I didn't entertain and engage in art in the same kind of way. And I have a whole new appreciation of how that is a part of the movement and should be a part of the movement. Just over the years that's been cultivated. And Kat and Ayodele, y'all have helped me see that in ways that I didn't necessarily recognize, even though I appreciated it, didn't recognize how integral it is in order to get us to see something different, to imagine the possibilities of what freedom can be. So I don't want to talk too long because I do have our next guest coming up, Brother Refa Senay. But I do want to give you all a couple last words because we didn't even get to scratch the surface about what I want to get into. So I'm going to leave, I want to give you all 2 minutes to close with whatever you want to say so we can move on to our next guest.
Go ahead, Kat.
All right.
We need to get off and get to that rehearsal.
Yes, you do. You were due a rehearsal, ma'am. In 2 minutes, actually, your rehearsal begins. I am directing Ayodele and a beautiful another young actress named Nico Buchanan in a piece called The Black House, which takes place in 2045. It is post the revolution. Black folks have won, and Black women now run the world. So we are filming that. It's called The Black House, written and directed by me. There's such amazing work, new work, Black work for the next 31 days. Please check out BAMFest, engage in the political conversations, right? As we reimagine with activists and artists and organizers. Chuck, happy Soulbeat Day. You should come on my show on KPFA, talk about it, let the listeners know about it. Get at me.
You got time tomorrow, please come by.
I will. I will make time for sure. Councilmember Fife, thank you as always for using your platform for the good of Black folks.
Thank you.
Oh, they just left us, Chuck? I guess you get the last word.
We appreciate them. No, they had to go. But just kind of piggybacking off the last piece that you said, ironically, synchronicity works this way. That shout out to Dwayne Wiggins and also JR. They have this thing called the Small Stage, which I actually met one of Khalid Muhammad's sons. I actually met one of them. Right. So it's gonna be dope because he actually has some great projects that he want to participate with Soul Beat. So again, we're gonna continue that lineage. Yep. So it's all good. Who we got up in here? What's up, Mystic?
We got Mystic and we have Refa Senay. So Chuck, the first segment was with you. My next segment is with these two amazing artists and cultural workers. So I will see you tomorrow, and I appreciate you. Thank you for carrying on this legacy.
Appreciate it. And shout out to DU Day. You know what I'm saying? I look forward to seeing y'all up over there soon. And again, much love to you, Councilmember Fife, for all the support. And we'll see y'all tomorrow at Soul Be Day.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Peace.
Peace. Oh my goodness. I do not have enough time, but I want to say thank you all. Thank you all for being with us today. Sounds like we might have some technical difficulties happening. Do y'all hear that?
Yeah.
Sounds like some little mice are eating Doritos or something. That's new. I've never experienced that before. But in anyway, in whatever, we're not going to let that stop us. I want to say once again, thank you for being with us today. We have the amazing Mystic, an artist, rapper, San Francisco Bay Area. Look it, the devil is alive. And we also have Brother Refa Senay, a local artist, activist, historian, may I say, a Panther Cub, does amazing work for our community, both of you all. And I'm so happy to have you here today. And we're just going to carry on the same kind of thinking. Why is art and culture, particularly Black art and culture, so necessary for Oakland? And why is it important in this moment? And who wants to go first? Mystic, we'll start with you.
Greetings, good evening. Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here this evening. I would just jump in and say that Black arts and culture are always important, always have been. But in this particular moment, as somebody who has done research on the use of culturally relevant arts education facilitated by educators of color with elementary school students of color, we really need to understand that being able to access and practice in the arts has always been part of revolutionary development of thinking. It's part of imagining what has not yet been imagined and reimagining the conditions in which we often live in our communities. But for children and young people, as a community educator, to be able to access Black arts and culture is about being able to access the history and the beauty and the power of our communities, and understanding that the legacies and the history that come from our peoples and from the diaspora, that those always will belong to us. There are people in the world who may explore them, play with them, even steal them. However, what has been contributed to the world and in our communities through Black arts and culture is critical. And I just feel like that art is part of joy as resistance. Art and Black culture is about the upliftment of our communities and our cultures. And just, our collective babies need to be reminded on a regular basis of how beautiful they are and what they come into this world with. And as Black folks continue to be displaced in our communities, we need to make sure that the power and the beauty and the Blackness and the art remains in our communities. So I would stop there.
I just have to say, every time I hear you speak, I want to cry. I don't know what it is. And it's not the bad kind of cry. It's like, I'm really moved. I'm really moved by what you say, especially about our babies and showing them, what's possible, showing them their beauty, their power. which is why I think it's so important, the work that you do, Refa, in terms of our images. I drive by the family on 14th every day, every single day. Tell me why imagery is important and why Black culture and arts is important in this particular time we're living in right now.
I think arts and culture are particularly important right now because it represents our collective expression of our values and our interests. And I think identity is central to that, because if we collectively know who we are, then we can begin to discuss and examine what our interests are and work and move in our interests. And I think it's the job of the artist to plant the seeds of revolutionary change into the minds of the masses of people. And so that's the way I see myself as a culture worker, as in planting those seeds. And that wall that you spoke of, the Afrofuturist wall on 14th Street near Mandela, the central piece is the family, because that is the heartbeat of the community, and the community leads to building the nation that we want. But that's the first unit of organization, and it's what is most sacred to us. And I think if we keep that in our focus and in our mind, then we will do what's in our best interest.
I think that is so key. And I think people understand that about, and when I say people, I'm saying the people who brought Africans here understand the power of that unit, because that is the unit that's been attacked and undermined and abused since we were brought here as chattel. So, and it's something that's centuries old, but continual. And it's important that you bring that up. So from the perspective of both of you all, and I'm going to ask you to tap me in, like, what should I be doing with this newfound position as an elected official representing West Oakland and District 3? What do you think that I should be doing to uplift Black arts and culture in the city of Oakland?
Wow, I mean, there's so much, and I know you got a lot on your plate already, but really being a vessel to open the doors and to remove all the red tape that's blocking our rich cultural expressions. There is so much beauty and talent in the Black African community here in Oakland that is untapped. And sometimes it's just a lack of having access to resources. And there's many community institutions, I don't want to blow them up right here on the show, but some of them right on 14th Street that are pretty much dormant, if you will, in terms of community participation that we need access to. And for one, 14th Street is the Black Arts Corridor. But when you go down 14th Street, what is it that the city has opened the doors and provided that speaks to that? When you go to Chinatown, you see the signage on the poles, Koreatown, the same thing. But when you come through the African community, there's nothing here except what community members have imposed and forged to express their culture. And there's been some pushback by some of the city institutions to block some of that expression. And so creating pathways for those of us to have the will and the interest and the love to create, to do what it is that we do.
That's helpful. That's helpful. Mystic, what is your suggestion? What is your advice?
I would echo that. I would really encourage the further funding and development of community arts programs for children and youth. That these be funded, that they be created and facilitated by artists and educators of color, that Black artists who are doing the work every day and creating in the communities are brought in to help facilitate in those spaces, but just to really fund those spaces, which in funding those spaces and the materials, the supplies, paying the teaching artists who are coming in, right, is contributing to community, but it also is about having additional safe spaces for children and young people to be. It's also about being able to build community between children who may not live on the same place, young people who may not live in the same place and know each other. They can explore themselves, their autonomy, and their ideas of community with each other, and thus build community. And I know that sounds a little kind of, maybe floaty, but it's just like, I think the spaces are I think that they're critical and that we need safe spaces for our children and youth. And they have so much to say and so much to share. We don't need to tell them how to do it. We need to create the spaces, facilitate the spaces, fund the spaces, have them be loving, beautiful cultural spaces, and they will thrive. So that's what that would be my let's fund more of these programs.
Okay. That's helpful. And I will say in this recent budget process, I'm learning, right? I've been in office for about 6 months, but I did put in $500,000 for Malanga, the Malanga Center. It's where my children took African dance and tap lessons when they were little. They are 27 now. So my oldest children. And it was just, it wasn't Malanga then, it was Alice Arts, but I think that is an important institution for Black arts. And I also put in the funds for exactly that signage that you're talking about, Refa, and for us to build out the Black Arts Movement Business District. So those are some of the things that I started. That was another $500,000. So that is something that we're embarking on, that I want all of you all of the folks that have been on this live today to help me with. I see Rashida keeps peeking in and leaving and peeking in and leaving. We need Rashida Chase on this call because Mystic, she's doing exactly what you're talking about, working with young people to open up spaces for young people to have access to explore the arts and everything that you talked about. And when you were speaking, once again, you said it was, I don't recall the word that you used to say, maybe it was like, I'm not sure. I just heard mystic. But can you tell us why you chose that as your stage name or your performance name? Where did that come from?
I originally went by the name Oshun, and I changed my name to Mystic, and I selected it because I felt it was about being a holder but transmitter of sacred knowledge and secrets, and building connections that we within our communities and with our people. It wasn't about placing myself up in some echelon of magic people, but that we are here within ourselves. And I felt like it fit me. Mystic. That is I, and so to bring that in. But before we move, I wanna take one moment and say thank you to you. Because you ask what you can do, but I was deeply struck even before you co-sponsoring Digital Underground Day that you talked about the need to honor Black artists in the city of Oakland before we transition, right? As a member of Digital Underground, to lose Shakji as a human was devastating for me personally, but that I think what you're talking about is not just like honoring people because, oh, you did this and did that, but it uplifts them for our communities. It uplifts them for our children and youth to be able to celebrate and know about people before they transition. So I applaud you for taking a variety of different steps as you learn and you navigate in your role to help uplift us as a people, uplift our communities, and uplift the arts and culture, right, which are critical to us. So I just want to say thank you. And I see you.
Do you know what those words mean to me? Those 3 words? Because it's difficult doing this work because I don't just want to celebrate people before they pass just for the superficial celebration, but for a purpose, for the real purpose of identifying what the work that it takes, number one, to dedicate yourself to a craft, and how superior we are when we do that work. Like we have giants in this city who are masters at what they do. And specifically for the part of your brain that is activated from engaging in art, I think it's something that our children need to experience and need to engage in, because so often we are caught up in the monotony of surviving and just being in spaces where you're not affirmed. And I think it's important that if we have artists that are dedicating themselves to mastery of a craft, then folks should know about that. And our young people should be able to say, this is what it looks like. And we want to not only celebrate you, but create the pipeline and the pathway for you to be able to do that too. So it's easy for elected officials to do proclamations and resolutions to make days, but I want to make it a process, like where we're actually investing in our people. And that does not make me popular, but that is fine. I knew what I was signing up to do, so I'm okay with it. And so before we go back to Refa, I've got to honor Miss Rashida Chase, who is here with us, who's doing a lot of the work to ensure that Oakland youth have access to the arts. I know you were having some technical difficulty and we're running a little bit late, but Rashida, please, you have the floor to talk about the work that you're engaged in, what Oakland arts and particularly music meant to you. By the way, Rashida is one of the most amazing vocalists that I know. So I just wanted to open up the floor for you to have an opportunity to share, Rashida.
Thank you, Carol. I'm so excited to be here. I'm actually at a concert that I curated. So I'm running a show while I'm doing this right now. I'm at Eastside Arts Alliance at Beloved and Insistence, which is an art installment all along International, or as we know at East 14th, from 23rd to 22nd. And it is to raise awareness about our youth who are being trafficked in this area and in Oakland, because Oakland is one of the global hotspots for trafficking of youth. And so I'm working with Regina Evans and Alexandria Jones. And this has been, it's been an amazing day. We've got artists out there performing right now. And so that's one of the things that I'm doing. I've been curating concerts. I'm also the director of AMP Oakland, Art Music Performance, which is, it started in 2019. We hope to be able to get back to it again, but we had musicians, painters, visual artists, spoken word artists in different squares throughout downtown Oakland 3 days a week. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we had 2 different artists in squares in downtown Oakland. So hopefully once this all clears back up, then we'll be able to do that again. And right now I'm working on a project with a friend of mine, Anna Orius, of Musically Minded, to create a music mentorship program that's going to be piloted at Skyline High School. And so what we're going to start with is programming for youth in the school, where we'll have mentors and we'll be able to pay artists to go mentor young people. And we'll also be teaching the older like juniors and seniors to mentor their younger peers. And so hopefully this is a program that will also trickle down into our middle schools. I don't know if you know this, but 5 of our 12 high schools don't have any arts programming.
I remember you sharing that with me, and I think that is abysmal. And
it is, it really is. I mean, it's scary to me, because when I grew up here, when I was in high school, I had choir. I have 2 middle school children, and my daughter's voice teacher at Montera told me that her kids have nowhere to go because there are no choirs in high school. And so we're trying to figure out how to create opportunities for kids to be able to do that. I'm also working on some programming for youth who want to be in entertainment but don't necessarily want to be artists. So there's so many other professions that are available in entertainment that don't require you getting in front of a microphone or getting on a stage. And so I really want us to, instead of falling into those jobs because the music didn't work out or whatever else didn't work out, I want them to know about these well-paying jobs that exist, and create some pipelines and pathways for young people to be able to do what they want to do as early as possible.
That is so important. And just for anybody that's watching this or listening, I'm looking for artists right now who do digital art and posters. And there's so many opportunities, not just that, but just like for videographers and people that are behind the camera, or people who do lighting, just editing. There's so many different opportunities. And I'm looking for those individuals all the time. So hit me up at district3@oaklandca.gov if you know them folks, but also looking to be able to introduce young people into those careers as well. So I'm gonna ask y'all a question, and since we're all family here now at this point, I want you all to be honest. Do you think, and and I'll take the answer in any order, that all of the things we're seeing, because this is what's going through my head when I drive around Oakland, specifically in downtown Oakland, do you get the sense that all of this Black arts and culture is being put on display right now because of the shrinking population? Because I'll be honest, I love seeing all my people on these posters. I love seeing all the art and all the murals, but I feel like we are at the Smithsonian watching installations of ourselves because we are now on display because we're extinct or we're going extinct. And so that is the feeling I get. Like I look around and I feel so much joy and then sadness because I know that our numbers are dwindling. So I don't know. What do y'all think?
I think that's an excellent observation, because much of what we see that's being put on is an air. These are charades oftentimes by the city. And many of the folks that are curating some of the visual landscape that we see with our imagery on it are not from our community. And it's important in terms of Black self-determination that we control our image here in Oakland. Some of our creativity and our culture is even being put on display by other POC being the gatekeepers of our culture. That's a big problem here in Oakland. So in terms of self-determination, we must control it. History has already proven to us that the enemy has no problem making the people extinct and then naming their football team after you. So there's a lot of life lessons that we can learn by this, but it's not an absolute. I believe that some of the artwork that we see out there is definitely self-determined, but we have to make sure that we are controlling the narrative, not only where it goes and how it goes, but what it says and who's saying it. I think that's very important in terms of what Sister Rashida was talking about, art being taken out of the schools. If we're trying to have a cultural revolution, art is not just about a creative expression. It's about creative thinking, and creative minds are critical minds. If we want our young people to imagine a new world that we want them to create, then we have to give them the imaginative, cognitive, creative tools to do that. Our enemies understand that. That's why they take these programs out. A creative mind is a critical mind.
That is beautiful. I'm going to say that again so we can put that up in the little remarks, that the creative mind, the critical mind is the creative mind, or can I say that either way, Refa? Can it go both ways?
It can go either way.
Okay. The creative mind is the critical mind and the critical mind is the creative mind. That is facts. There's no lies there. And since we are rounding out our hour and we're knocking on 7:30, I want to give each one of you all as individuals the opportunity to share what you think people listening should know about Black arts and culture in Oakland, or just share anything that you want to share about this particular topic. And any order.
I think it's a defining moment for Black arts in Oakland. We're in serious crisis. Our young people are looking for answers and looking to express what it is they want. And this is a golden opportunity for us to organize and come together and create this voice and to give it its platform and the power that it needs to transform not only our local villages, but our entire African world. And I think Oakland plays a critical role in contributing to that. And so I'm looking forward to this cultural revolution.
Oh, cultural revolution. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Refa. Mystic or Rashida?
I'm happy to go. Thank you. I love that. Everything that's being shared is such an honor to be here. I would just add that, I think when we talk about Black arts and culture and a cultural revolution, that it's always important to understand that the arts, I think, that we are talking about and the culture that we are talking about is always inclusive of helping to contribute to race socio-political consciousness. It's not about some just physical representation of art or the creation of art, right? Talking about that, being able to reimagine, being able to imagine and have those critical tools is so important. So I think that we need to make sure that as we uplift Black arts and culture, that element, that revolutionary element, that socio-political, the fact that it can be used to push forward our communities, and where we're heading is we just need to make sure that's included. And I also just want to shout out, make sure that I do, as part of the BAM Festival, with Shock G and Digital Underground and honoring. It is such a privilege to be able to partner with BAM to do a day in the Black Arts District, to do it in the celebration of Black art and business and community, and to be in your district, Ms. Fife. And so that'll be coming up. And so it's beautiful to partner with them. We're also partnering with the East Oakland Collective for a Feed the Hood that will be on August 21st. And so I think that these are contributions. The way that we're trying to put it together as Digital Underground and Family is that this is about uplifting Black culture and art. This is about bringing together communities. This is about understanding that the celebrations of somebody like Shock G do not, sure, they belong to the world, but they belong to us. They belong to our communities and to our cultures. And so hopefully folks will come on out. And that would be me.
Ashe Oshun. Ashe. And Rashida with the last word.
Yes, I just want to say that art is not optional. And I think that a lot of people, and especially in this culture, treat it as if it is. But it is literally in everything that we do.
Yep.
And if we are not teaching our children how to develop their minds and how to you develop empathy from performing in groups with other people. You have to pay attention. You have to learn math in order to do music. There are so many things about music and art that are integral to who we are as human beings. And so denying that piece of ourselves, like, why do you think these kids are acting this way? Why do you think our kids are wilding out right now? They don't have anything to channel all of that energy into. There's so much talent in Oakland. We have, oh my God, just think about all the people that have come out of Oakland and what we had, but we had programs. We had things to do. We had adults who supported us. And so what I really want people to take away from this is that we really need to invest in our youth, and we need to make sure that we are creating pathways for them. It shouldn't be harder for them than it was for us. It really shouldn't. And there needs to be mentorship. There needs to be some hand holding and walking through, especially our Black kids, because this is not, we're at a very critical moment in Oakland. And it's starting, like you were saying about being in downtown Oakland, it feels like we're walking relics. I walk into so many rooms and I am one or two out of 100 people who are from Oakland, which is crazy to me. And so we really need to be investing in each other. We need to be supporting each other. We need to be working together and collaborating instead of competing with each other, because that's also part of the problem. We need to be working together a lot better. But I think that we really need to be making huge investments in our youth and making sure that they have a pathway and that they see what it looks like to be an artist, because we need to get rid of this trope that starving artists is like the thing, because it's really not. And I want kids to know that there are ways to live and to live well on your art. And so especially now you have NFTs and all these other things that are coming into play now. And so we need to make sure that our kids know how to do these things and they know how to participate. So, yeah.
Well, I just have to say, you all, now I have all these new questions just from the last comments that you made. So I'm definitely going to have you all back just to have our next steps conversation about how do we move from these ideas and reimagining to actually tangible programs that we're supporting. And there was a question that I have to ask that came up in the chat from one of the viewers. How do we support what you all are doing? Are there ways that people can reach out to you or support some of the things that you're doing, or other projects that you think are important in the city right now? Anybody?
Sure. Our organization is a mural organization called Aerosol, which I'm the director of. And we have a GoFundMe that is gofundme.com/Black Panther Mural. And we're in the process of creating murals all over Oakland, informing young people in the community at large about the Black Panther Party's 10-point platform.
Beautiful. And it's amazing, the work that's gone up. So my son actually had one of your murals painted for me for Election Day, Refa, and it was amazing. It was powerful. So that is how we get in touch with Aerosol. That's the GoFundMe that was just linked there. Rashida or Mystic, do you have any links you want to plug? Because that's what I'm using my platform for. I don't know how long I'm gonna be in this seat for. So I want to use and extract it to give people a platform to uplift whatever it is that they're doing, so that we can build a stronger city for our community. So have at it. What y'all got?
Everybody can follow me on social media, Rashida Chase, and my business, Liberated Culture. That is what I'm creating all my programming through. And so you can find me on all the socials. We will be running a campaign for our music mentorship program in September. So be on the lookout for that.
And I don't have anything super to promote, but I will say that I'm working on this idea of creating public art opportunities that are grounded in the arts and also in legacies of social justice in Oakland. And so I'm collaborating with some fellow educators and other folks around that. But I always want to give a shout out to the People's Conservatory. I know them from being at Roses and Concrete Community School and being in that space, and also working up with Roz at the People's Conservatory. And I just think that that is an amazing organization that continues to provide arts for primarily Black and Brown children throughout schools and in community spaces throughout Oakland. So I'm always gonna uplift that organization. And if people are not familiar, I encourage them to check it out.
Thank you. And before, Refa, don't be mad. This is just one of my favorite points. Y'all, a lot of people know me from housing organizing. So my son had this done for me last November, and I love it. He had this painted for me.
Nice.
So thank you for being the inspiration for that. And for the folks who came up and put their bodies on the line to fight for that. So the least that we can do is figure out how to continue their legacy, because that's what this is really about. It's about legacy and continuing that revolutionary ethic of pushing for what we know that we need to be whole. And just the microcosm is one aspect of the macrocosm. But if we really look at art on an individual level and how your brain changes to engage with it and to create it, how soothing and meditative and how important that is, people will get to understand why we need it in our schools, why our young people need it, because it's really transformational. So that's just on an individual level if you experience it and engage it. But then once you put it out for the world to see, that's a whole nother birth of possibilities. And I appreciate you all for being with me this evening to talk about it. I hope that you are with me over the next 3.5 years to be about it. I hope I can count on you for that. Because this is work. This is work. And I love, thank you. And the reason I had y'all on is because I know y'all are all about that life. So let's get it in. Thank you for being with me tonight, y'all. And I will see you very soon, hopefully in real life.
Right on. I appreciate you, sisters.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate all y'all. Peace.
Peace.